Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. Welcome to the next installment of our Wildstorm deep dive. I feel like right now I'm kind of focusing in on the core titles. It's kind of the foundation of what was to come in some ways. But then again, when Scott Doombeer came into Wildstorm, in my opinion, and took over as editor in chief, really some quite big changes started to take place, and we had all of his connections and relationships that he had really started to amplify the breadth of what Wildstorm did. But anyway, so this is Deathblow, the deluxe edition. It does have the darker image story in it, and we're going to look at maybe two full comics and the darker image story. But anyway, so to my surprise, this is actually me on the cover. I've shared the photo before. I don't have it handy to show it, but this is actually a photograph of me wearing a Soundgarden hat and holding this gun. And Jim had snapped a photo of me in the office one day, and it kind of sat around like, I don't remember if the purpose of the original photo was to do that, but yeah, that's actually me. Who knew, right? Rich friend, friendly YouTuber, patron, mentor, and then Deathblow model. So anyway, I was also Lono for Jim. There's 100 bullets pinup that he did with Lono in a pool with, like, I think dead bodies around him or something, but that's me also. I'm bad to the bone. All right, let's get to this. Deathblow. For all you Wildstorm hardcore people, I wanted to ask this question actually going into the video. How do you feel over the long haul Deathblow was handled? Did you feel satisfied that there was a good amount of stories that were told with the character? I think that he's interesting to me because he's like a dark character, so he's heroic, but yet there were all these missions and stuff that I think that they could have done with him and things like that. His age is a little perplexing to me too, because I have a hunch that he would be like an old man now, almost. It's just interesting. But yeah, let me know how you feel ultimately Deathblow was handled. Was it satisfying if you were a fan of his? All right, let's get into this. Rich, we're going to shut your JPEG. That was your moment to shine. All right. So let's see. That's another cover. We're going to do this first. All right. So beautiful piece. So we'll talk a little bit about Jim's style on this book, because it was different. I want to say that I was possibly collecting comic books when this stuff came out. It was really close. I feel like I was. Like, this was when I kind of was actively collecting. So I can't remember if Darker Image came out first or Deathblow #1. I kind of want to say that the Deathblow miniseries, which was a flip book with Cybernary, came out first. So honestly, if you don't have Deathblow 1 through 4 with the Cybernary flip book, I mean, I would highly, highly recommend you grab those comics. They're great, and I'm sure you could find them for a fairly affordable price. It'd be worth it to just get all 4. But, Jim came into it. So Jim had done a story that never got published, and in fact, I think some of the originals or all of the originals might be missing. But he was doing oh God, and I'm going to forget it. I just remembered it before. He was penciling and inking a Nick Fury story from Marvel, and some of the pen and ink approaches that he was using in it definitely had like a Frank Miller vibe to it, but this, he really took it to, like, he combined the two, where it's looks like Jim Lee's line work, how he inks himself, but then with the Frank Miller oomph to it. It's a great style. It's one of my favorite styles. In fact, the cover and that look is probably one of my favorite styles that Jim works in, which is semi-painted. It's sort of like it's pen and ink, it's wash, it's got a painterly quality. I love when he works on tonal paper, like those Batman pieces that he does on like the blue or the brown paper or the gray paper. That's my favorite look on Jim. I think that stuff is so badass. But this stuff is great. And so this is all rumor mill stuff and fan stories that I've heard. But I remember vaguely that Jim actually sort of approached Frank Miller and let him know about this style that he was going to do on this book. And I don't know if this is factual, but I remember hearing that at some point back in the day. and Frank kind of gave Jim the green light to go ahead and do it, like it wasn't going to bother him. And then I kind of think ultimately it did bother Frank Miller. So I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it's kind of like one story that I remember, is like we'll call it not fan fiction technically, but yeah, I don't know if that's actually true. I don't know if it actually at one point bothered Frank. I mean, as far as I know, Frank and Jim are friends now and have been for a long time, and they worked together on Batman. So, probably water under the bridge. But yeah, it was interesting. But the thing is you have to understand. So at this time, Image is just literally destroying everything. All their books are selling gangbusters, and then you've got a little bit of the old guard that aren't that old really at that point, but they're a little older than the Image guys, and that would be Frank Miller, Mignola, John Byrne, Jeff Darrow, Arthur Adams. And so they start their own imprint at Dark Horse called Legend, and they're all doing their books. So as far as I remember, and I could be off on this, I believe the first Hellboy miniseries is Legend, and maybe some of the first early Sin City books were that. So they were even doing their own imprint. But anyway, obviously, if you were a fan of comics at that time, two really, really incredible books were Sin City and Hellboy in particular. And Deathblow just came out of nowhere, and it was like, oh my God. I would have rather... Well, I love Wildcats, so it would be hard for me to say that, but in some ways, I would have loved to see Jim do more Deathblow work. And in fact, that cover piece, again, going back to that, I always secretly hoped that he would do a graphic novel that kind of looked like Elektra Lives Again, that he painted, of a Deathblow story. I think that would have been so badass. So that's one of my fantasy projects that I wish. So this is from Darker Image. I actually was just looking at Darker Image before I started this. So Darker Image is a single one-shot comic book with Sam Keith doing the Max, Rob Liefeld doing Blood Wolf, and Jim Lee doing Deathblow. And it's cool, definitely worth getting. I actually really liked Blood Wolf. I thought it was a fun character. Sam Keith was really, really kicking ass on the Max at that point and doing really, really high quality work. And then you had Deathblow. I mean, how can you go wrong? This is the story. So really, really beautiful shot. I mean, I love this style and look. I would absolutely love to do a story in this style. Would be really fun. I don't know if I'm there yet. Oh, and I wanted to give some updates. I meant to do it earlier in the video. In about 2 weeks, I'll be finished with Crystal Planet issue number 2, which is actually a big deal. That'll be 50 pages of sequential art I've done in the story. I'm very proud that I was able to knuckle down and actually do it, and it's a big deal for a lot of reasons. But one of the other reasons that it's a big deal is it gives me experience and confidence going into Blaster Kid that I probably didn't have as much of. I mean, I'm confident with Blaster Kid, but what I mean is doing when I'm finished with Crystal Planet, it'll be 125 pages. You just can't get that kind of experience any other way. So I should be done with Crystal Planet in about 4 months. I'm gonna continue to work on it and get it done completely. And then I'll go full-time on Blaster Kid. But in about 2 to 3 weeks, as soon as I finish issue 2 of Crystal Planet, I'm going to start doing regular updates on Blaster Kid. We'll start doing the fan art videos and all that stuff will be back. So don't worry. I needed to be able to have, what would you call it, like a workflow method. In the first issue of Crystal Planet, I just didn't have it in place good enough. The pages were taking me way too long. It was just challenging kind of the whole time, and in between issue 1 and 2, I spent several weeks really looking at what I was doing, looking at my approach, and figuring out the most efficient way to do the book in a professional manner. It ultimately ended up being just going back to complete traditional work. So I pencil it and ink it on the big board. And the only thing that I do digitally is I just will, I blow up my thumbnail. So I take a photo. I draw the thumbnail traditionally, but I take a photo of it and I just blow it up to 11 by 17, and that kind of places everything on the big board so that I at least have the location of what I want in the spot, and then I pencil it from there. But anyway, but that was a huge step. I'm actually able to do 5 pages a week of pencils and inks right now, which is fucking crazy. But I can do it You know, it takes me about 8 days to scan it and get everything turned in, but that's a big deal. That's a huge, huge step. So, I mean, look, you know, the Blaster Kid comic is going to be somewhere between 48 and 60 pages. It's going to be so nice to get back on it, and I can't wait. So, you know, I needed a little bit of work to tide me over before I launched it, and so Crystal Planet fell into my lap at the perfect time. Because right now I'd be inking Aquaman if it wasn't that, and some random Batman stuff. So I didn't want to do that. It was not going to be an option to go back to inking. So anyway, that's the update. So probably 3 weeks, I'll start doing regular updates on Blaster Kid and actually releasing stuff that you guys can really enjoy. A lot of like prelim stuff, a lot of the history of the world, and all kinds of fun stuff. So it'll be really neat. So anyway, let's get back to Deathblow, the blow of death. Lynch. Again, this character confused me at first because I didn't realize that he was in multiple books. And so I would be like, if I just glanced at a comic, I'd be like, isn't this the dude from the other book? What's going on? I didn't realize they were building like a universe that tied in. I was a new comic collector, so things like that went a little beyond me. But yeah, I would say at this time, although I had some kind of more mainstream favorites too, I really liked Alex Ross at this point. But you know, this, Jay Lee doing probably Youngblood Strike File, Nick Manabat doing Cybernary. Those were really, really fun, dark artists, you know. So cool. Look at this. Stuff is wild. Oh, man. That's so cool. This will drive a colorist nuts, though. There's no holding lines. Everything is open. It would be tough to flat this, I think. Unless you just flat it. Like, super flat it. Maybe not, but... yeah, you'd have to go in and do all these cuts. Define the shapes yourself. My apologies for no Super Fun Sunday, but I really wanted to... this was a big week for me to prove to myself that it wasn't a fluke, that I was able to do the 5 pages in about a week. So I'm like, if I can do this 5 weeks in a row, I'm fucking rolling. Like, that's a huge accomplishment, you know. So if you don't believe me, try to pencil and ink 5 pages in a week. Pencil and ink, it's a lot of work. Feels good. My hand is a little sore, like a tiny bit. Like, I don't usually have sore hand, but I was noticing between my thumb and pointer finger, it's like a little tight. But I don't feel like I'm stressing out when I'm working, so I don't know what it is. Man, this shit is so cool. Jim does great sizes. Like, his proportions, proportional relationship between the size of his head and hands is so good. It really makes his characters powerful. It's something that I actually need to work on, because my characters tend to look like... I think the proportions are off. They're a little too human-sized, but they are humans. But they need to feel a little more heroic for comic work, I think. So, something that I can work on. Oh, man, it's so kick-ass. Damn. At times, too, I mean, you definitely can see Jim kind of going back and forth a little bit. Whoa, there's an X there. Oh, is that on the map? Or is that... X's are weird. Like, an X is almost like a funky thing to put on a page. Because to me, that just means black. But I think it's like X marks the spot, maybe. Or maybe it's a plane. I don't know. If I read it, maybe it makes sense. But that's kind of funny. But yeah, if I see an X, I'm like, uh-oh. Man, this stuff is powerful. The Chapel miniseries had art like this. That guy was really good. I can't think of his name. I think he went by like a pen name. But yeah, there was an artist that did a Chapel miniseries or two that was really, really good and did a style like this. It's good shit. Man, stuff is so powerful. Badass, big ass shit. Dude, honestly, like, it's crazy that I'm actually penciling now. I can't believe it. It's so weird and so fun, and what's weird about it is if like patrons will kind of know where I'm going with this, but you know, we look at artists' work and we see the high quality stuff. You know, our favorite stuff generally is the best work that they've done, but it is really fun to go back and look at your favorite comic artist's first work, Barry Windsor Smith, whoever it is. You know, and you go, oh my god, this is crazy. Like, I see little bits and pieces of their stuff, and I know that I'm going through that right now, and it's just so weird because it's like you want your art to be better, but you can't really get it. You can't probably get it all where you want it to be. A lot of stuff that you're drawing for the first time. I had to do a car chase. Okay, this looks like a different artist. This is like Trevor Scott or something, which isn't bad. But let's get back to the Jim Lee stuff. Okay, this is weird. We'll just go. We'll go. I guess we don't really need to go in order because we're looking at. But yeah. So it's really interesting going through the process because again, like for the last week, I basically did a car chase sequence, and I honestly can't even remember if I've ever drawn a car before. But now I've done, like, I don't even know, a whole bunch of panels with cars and SUVs and the freeway, and it was like trippy, you know. But I thought I did a real good job on it. When I scanned it and I was looking at it last night, I was a little disappointed in some of it, honestly, where I was like, oh man, it's not, I don't know. When I scanned it, it doesn't look as good as it does on the big boards, but you know, it is what it is. It's like you just got to get in there and fight through the next day and try a little bit harder, which is what I always preach to my patrons. This is a Tim sale too. It's really nice though. But yeah, you know, it's just the natural way it goes. This is trippy. I'm assuming this is Tim's sale. It's actually kind of more detailed of Tim's stuff. It's a nice page. It looks good. Almost has a Rizzo vibe. Rizzo. Yeah, this is definitely not Jim. All right, I wanted to look just at Jim stuff. I thought this is Jim. Pretty sure. I don't know. Maybe not. Now I'm tripping, yo. Yeah, I don't know. This doesn't look like Jim. This reminds me of Jim. I thought, what the hell? So they must have it. Oh, okay. This. Let me see some. I'm gonna go back and forth a little bit. All right. So this is definitely Jim. This is definitely Jim. Where are we at? Where are we at? Yo, where are we at? All right. Well, we'll just start. I guess we'll go in order. All right. So it's not Jim. And again, no offense to these other artists, but I kind of wanted to have it on Jim's art in particular, just for this particular video. But I did actually have every intention of getting into the other artists. And in fact, I want to do Jason Johnson. He did Team 7. I think that'll be really fun. We could definitely do some Tim Sale, Deathblow, Trevor Scott Deathblow I wanted to look at. We're going to get into the ABC comics. Oh man, that's kind of cool. I remember, you know, what's funny is I remember when I got to Wildstorm, sometimes I would see some of these original pages in like black and white. In fact, we could turn this one black and white. It should be pretty easy to remove all the gray. Because these are very digital scans. Let's see. Yeah, and so let me do this one more time. Just remove the rest of the gray. It was really interesting seeing these pages in black and white. You really get a very cool sense of like what's going on. But isn't that an interesting way to draw? God damn, look at this. It's really wild, right? Oh my god, it looks so cool. I was always amazed that the human mind could actually like think in reverse. Travis actually said this to me one time. He goes, if you ever want to test your drawing ability, he goes, try to draw on like the gray paper or the colored paper. He said it's tricky because you've got a middle value already presented to you, and so you're either pulling things darker or lighter, so it's a more of a painterly approach. But he said it's, you know, it'll definitely challenge you. I'm not there yet, I don't think. I mean, I could draw on it for sure, but I don't think I control my values and planes and stuff like that well enough to really like be crushing it on that. But it'd be fun to experiment with it when I'm done with these books. I'll definitely look into it. This is kind of a cool page. This looks like Trevor. In fact, this is Trevor. I remember this page. That's so funny. All right, we got to look at this in black and white. It's gonna be cool. Trevor was a real good penciler. I mean, he definitely at Wildstorm was, I think, known a little bit more for his inks, but Trevor was actually like an inker that could draw pretty damn well. And in fact, did quite a few books for Wildstorm. I think he did a book called Black Sun that he wrote and drew digitally before digital was even really a thing. I don't really know of very many people that had drawn a digital comic before Trevor, but he was way into it. This is interesting. It almost has like a different vibe. This feels a little almost like underground. It's like the lininess of it doesn't have exactly the same vibe as the other page did. I believe Trevor still inks for DC. I see his name sometimes pop up on books. I'm always happy to see that he's still working and stuff like that. Trevor's a real good guy. Very, very talented. Man, he's good. The fact that he could go in and actually just like switch from inking to drawing a book like this is pretty nuts. That's not easy to do, but he definitely had the skills. We can look at this in black and white too. Let's see. Oh yeah, look at that. That is cool. 1992. Okay, so this is definitely before I was collecting comics. Just a little bit though, but I think somewhere in 92 or 93 is when I first started actually buying comic books. Man, that is really cool. God. I really hope that he does that graphic novel that I've made up in my mind that I would like to see him do. And this is actually kind of cool too. I don't know what made me think of it, but I actually have a pinup that Jim and I were going to collaborate on. He did these big drawings on fairly large, like colored paper. In fact, it's funny that it's colored paper. Each person was going to do one figure. So I think ours is, oh man, it's like Huntress and someone else, or Voodoo and someone else. We never did it, and I have the original here, and at some point when I actually feel more confident with my pencils, I'm going to do it and give it to Jim, and we can actually finally do the collaboration. But he did one for everyone one day. He got like real inspired, and he did like Ollie Garza, and Jim did one, Carlos Tienda, and Jim did one, you know, whoever was at the office at that time, like 7 of us. He laid them out real fast, but that'll be real fun. Let's actually, I want to check this one out in black and white too, but yeah. Oh, that's so good. Damn. The character is so big. You don't realize how big these guys are until you really start drawing a lot on your own, and then you realize, you go, oh, my characters aren't that big. You think you're drawing like a big guy, and then you see something like this, and you go, that is what a drawing of a big guy looks like. His hand is huge. His hand is almost bigger than his head. It works, though. Looks good. This is all nice. Man, Jim's good. Oh, sorry. I went the wrong way. I needed to go one above that. There we go. Oh, yeah, these. Oh. I hit something too much. Let me just... move that. Yeah, that's better. And then I'll do one more. It's kind of fun to see him in the just pure black and white too. Oh my god, that is right out of Sin City. I loved Sin City, man. I think I loved Hellboy more, but man, Sin City is great. Oh my god. If you're a huge Frank Miller fan and you have a little bit of wiggle room with cash, I would definitely recommend the graffiti black and white like artist edition of Sin City. It's so freaking good. It's huge too. The book is gigantic. It's a couple 100 pages, I think. Man, it's great. He could have actually even removed more of these lines, like on Deathblow's arm, like kind of how he was doing before. But he could have left a lot of these top planes out if he wanted to. They almost don't really need to be there, and it would still look really, really kick-ass. It's interesting because he haloed just tiny bits. Like, you see a little bit of a halo right here, but then he doesn't have it on other parts of the arm, which I think is a good call. Halo can look a little, like, it can kind of pull you out of the drawing a little. We got to do this one in black and white too. We'll look at it in color first. The colors are real nice, but it'll be fun to see some black and white. Man, Jim went splatter mania on this. Crazy. All right, let's see what we got. Damn. Oh my gosh. Wow. That is really cool looking. I'm a little speechless, but it's really neat. I talked to a patron about the use of splatter and sort of some recommendations, but what I was going to say on this particular piece is sometimes when you use white and black splatter on a piece, it can start to flatten things out and it almost becomes too busy and it sort of loses its impact. On this particular piece, Jim's got it tight. It's a tight enough shot where everything is kind of in the same plane. I mean, obviously this gargoyle or whatever it is in front of him, but everything is really within a close approximation. Where you get into trouble is if you've got more depth to the scene. If you could see buildings 25 feet behind these guys, and maybe there's characters back there, or someone flying in the sky up over here, and you start running splatter over every plane of the depth of field, and it can start to look a little weird. But it works here with white and black splatter. But yeah, it's something that you definitely, if you're going to be a splatter guy, you want to be kind of mindful of, because it can actually start to lose atmosphere. This is such a crazy page. I've seen this in black and white. I mean, like, I think I've seen, I don't know if I've seen the original, but I've definitely seen this without any of the thing. It's really, really wild. And again, I love this dead weight stuff when Jim does this. I mean, I think that this looks really, really cool. It's very creepy and it works great in a book. And then look at this. Jeez Louise. Whew, man, that is so badass. Yep. Oh my god. Comics are so cool. Oh man, that's a poster right there. Until I realize what I've done. Dong dong dong. That is kind of how I read comics in my head. Maybe not with like a Clint Eastwood voice. Although, happy birthday to Clint Eastwood. I read this morning, I think it's his birthday. And someone else's birthday too. Ron Wood from the Stones. Two very talented gentlemen. If you're a trivia buff, what other bands has Ron Wood been in? Someone will know, actually. He fit the Stones perfect, though. He looked just like a Rolling Stone. It's like, we need to replace our guitarist. You look just like you should be in this band. Come on, let's go. But I can't. I'm a coward. Though I've killed so many, I can't even kill myself. Lightning strikes. Alright, what do we got? Oh my god. Ghosts of the past haunting Deathblow. He can't take it. Pain of it all, the murders he's committed, the atrocities he's seen. It's gonna be okay, Deathblow. You're at Wildstorm now. The war's over. Okay, so is this Jim? I think this is like, it's, again, it gets much more simple, but it's still real good. Yeah, this is Jim. I can kind of tell from this, honestly. Right. Oh man, this is a great one too. Right, let's do it. Great. You think KFAB turns files gray? I highly doubt it. Oh, and speaking of that, although it has nothing to do with KFAB, but we're almost at 20,000 subs, which is actually very cool. I'm about 120 away, I think, which could happen fast. So first off, thank you very much for the support and for actually subscribing. We've got some really excited stuff planned, so it'll be good. And I am getting those guests lined up. I'm gonna start contacting people later this week. I just wanted to finish the second book of Crystal Planet. Like I said, it's a big deal because this was the first book that I actually put on what I consider a real comic book deadline, and I had to see if I could pull it off, no matter how hard it was and how challenging it felt. It was an incredibly important step. So, you know, I think part of what it is for me is I've done it. I did it in an inking career. I've explained this on Patreon, that I already know how the growth arc goes when you're a comic book artist. No matter how prepared you go into comics, in my opinion, most people will have their ass handed to them for about a year. It's almost impossible to avoid, but some probably do. Not everyone is the same, but yeah, just generally speaking, like for me as an inker, you know, I was pretty good enough to get hired, but the first year or so that I was at Wildstorm was very, very challenging because I was constantly being asked to do things that I really hadn't done before, and that's hard, you know, and it makes you uncomfortable, and it just creates, I think, a sense of chaos in your mind where, like, even stuff that you would maybe normally do better, it can actually kind of affect that too. And then you sort of settle in and you have all these, you know, things that you've completed and jobs that you can look back on and see, and you kind of start to analyze like what worked and what didn't, and it's just part of the process. So it's exciting for me because although, you know, you always want your stuff to look great, I already know that if I stick to it, you get better and better. There's no two ways about it. This is so good. So that's the encouraging thing. If you're trying to learn to draw and you feel frustrated right now, just remember, just keep at it and you will improve. But if you don't draw, then you know, nothing's going to happen for you. It's really, really important that you just continue to produce art and finish it. No pain, no gain. I always feel like this pose was a little awkward. I don't know why. He just feels a little too unbalanced to me. Almost like maybe the bottom and top of the body aren't like connected or something too. I don't know. It's always a little strange to me. This feels a little rigid. When like in terms of Wildcats, do we know when exactly these pages were done? Like around what issue of Wildcats was this? We could probably cross-reference the release dates. But yeah, I would be genuinely interested of, like, did Jim have 4 or 5 issues of Wildcats done and then he sort of was squeezing this in? Maybe he did this before Wildcats. If this is 92, I think at least a couple of issues of Wildcats had come out, I would imagine. Looks like Grifter. Oh man, that is really, really good. Let's do this. Come on, let's make it gray. Make it gray. Make it gray. Take a little more gray out. Oh, not that. Too much. Oh. Hold on. I'll take a lighter gray out. I destroyed the lines. Alright, let's just take this gray out. That should work. Yeah, that's better. Alright. Man. Dude, that is so powerful. Look at those folds on his pants. That is really neat. This is going to be one of those videos that'll actually be fun for me to watch back later. I got to actually kind of clean up my pages and turn them in this morning. But, yeah, tonight I might pop this on and watch it and get a little study on. It's good, you know, watching videos like this where you get to see the art and stuff like that. I mean, you know, imagine this. Okay, so you're sitting down to draw and you have no reference out. You're just drawing out of your head. how you problem solve is a combination of what you've learned and then also what you've seen. And so if you've seen good art or you've picked up an idea or two, that stuff just starts to naturally kind of come through you. You know, you're like a conduit to all this stuff. So drawing a lot, studying the good stuff, you know, anatomy books or perspective or, you know, whatever it is that you need to work on. And then, you know, a good diet of really nice comic art. That's you know, all that stuff starts to combine, you know, and good things will happen. This is making me want to check out Jim's Punisher stuff. That right there totally made me think of the Punisher. This is crazy. Her arm is thick. She has thick forearms. Is it a girl? Oh, it's like a standee that he was shooting, I think. As that looks like a cardboard cutout. Yeah. It's a nice little drawing. Kind of Bisley-ish. Right? Like it looks like something Bisley would do. Frag it. All right. Well, this was fun. It feels good to be back on YouTube. I hate taking breaks. This is me when I don't do YouTube right here. Fuck, I feel empty. Please, God, just give me enough time to do a YouTube video. I miss my friends. All right. Let it go. Let it go. Whoa. All right. Yeah, it's nice. 3-panel page. I have not seen one of those in my book. I did get to do a splash page, like a splash page with no panels, this past week. It's the first. Is it the first? It might be the first splash page I've ever drawn. I'm trying to think. I think that was the first splash page that I've ever drawn. It has no characters on it, though. You'll see it. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, it's funny. I think that's the first splash page I've ever drawn. Crazy. The Deathblow. Craig goes. Cray. Okay, we'll do this one in black and white, too. I think it's worth it. Wow, I'm like tripping out on that. I literally think that's my first splash page. You never forget your first splash. It is kind of funny that mine didn't have characters on it. I've talked about this before. I did an eBay auction years ago for, it was 3 explosion pages. My page was an explosion, to be clear. But it was a J. Scott Campbell explosion page, an Humberto Ramos explosion page, and someone else, maybe Bacalo. And I just, there was nothing on them really except for an explosion. And I sold them on eBay as like a power pack explosion lot. They're original art though, but yeah, there was just nothing really on them, just explosions. It's funny shit. Oh yeah, this. I'm kind of sold on this like gray scale, or removing the gray. I think it looks cool. Let me do one more just to get it out. All right. Okay, we can start wrapping this up. We've just got a few more files to go. It kind of ends on a good one, actually. Or I think. Oh man, that's nice. All right, we got to do this in grayscale. Let's see here. I'll remove like a lighter gray first. Oh my God, look at that, dude. That is so cool. Shit. Damn. Goodness gracious. Wow. So that's 94. And this is the 3rd cover, I believe. I'm thinking this is either issue 2 or issue 3 cover. God dang. I could be way off, but I'm just guessing. Dude, that is so cool. This seems like it would be fun to color. It looks great in black and white, but I'm just saying is like if the next part was going to be colored, I would think that this would be a pretty fun, exciting piece to like have an opportunity to sort of color, goof around on it. All right, we can wrap it up. those are nice pages, but nothing really too crazy. So, all right, you guys have a great day. I probably won't come back tomorrow. I need to not lay out. The pages are laid out, but I need to pencil my next 5 pages, and I've got basically 2 days to get them all penciled, and then I draw the rest of it in ink. But yes, I got to be really disciplined. But the plan is, I think, to do a super fun Sunday this weekend live. I have to see. I've got a birthday that I need to attend, so I don't know when that is. But anyway, you guys have a great day. Thank you so much for supporting my YouTube channel. If you want to check out Patreon, you can. There's between 7 and probably 800 videos up there. I did an hour and 15-minute long question and answer yesterday where people on Patreon can ask me anything that they want, and I go through all the questions and answer them. So that went up yesterday, and that's a good hopping in point, because those are always really interesting, and they really come up with some interesting questions that are it's just fun conversations to start kicking around. So all right, you guys have a great day. I'll talk to you later. Bye. I'll have a link to Patreon in the description box and to Jim's social media. All right.